Well, hello, sports fans. Larry Eder in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Stuart Weir in Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world. And this is Athletics Chat number 66, not 666, 66. Just thought I'd, make sure we're okay, Stuart. How are you doing this fine and feathered day?
I've got a cold, but apart from that, I'm doing fine. I'm back from Lausanne. And I'm hoping to go to Zurich next week.
Okay. Well, I hope you get over the cold quickly. How was Lausanne?
I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was the first time I'd been to a Diamond League out of the UK since September 2019. So that was great. I loved the layout where the mix zone where you do the interviews was right next to the track. So you could actually stay there for the whole meet and watch all the races and then do your interviews. Because often you have to choose between the two.
Sure.
So, I enjoyed it. I mean, there were some phenomenal performances, like poor old Elaine Thompson running 10:64 and coming second to Shelley Ann's 10:60. Mr. Ryan Krauser, yet again winning with 22:81. Interesting chat with him afterwards. Johannes Vetter, 88:54. Jakob Ingebrigtsen winning the 3000 in 7:33. I mean, there were times in the race you wondered if he's going to win it, but then of course at the end he does. He just produces it. And I also particularly enjoyed the 110 hurdles. I did say to Devon Allen afterwards, I didn't really think you were the favorite for this. But he thought he was. It helped that the Olympic champion Hansi Parchment hit the first hurdle. But Devon said that he thought he'd run really well in the first two rounds in Tokyo, setting himself up for a really fast one in the final, but the fast one didn't come. But he's now confident he can do a sub-13 in his next, I think he's got 5 races left.
That's awesome. Let's talk back about our friend Shelley Ann. Did that surprise you?
Well, I've heard her say that she is in the best shape of her life. You know, this is a 34-year-old with a child, but that she thinks she's in the best shape of her life. She was very frustrated in Tokyo because she made a slight stumble early on in the race and reckons that cost her the 10th of a second by which she lost. I mean, it's to run a PR at that stage of her life is tremendous, and she's done a previous one, and she's confident that she can go under 10.6.
Yeah, I went back and I pulled the list of all of her medals, Stuart, including the World Indoors, the World Outdoors. You know, you've got 8 Olympic medals, you've got, 12 World Outdoors, and you got World World Indoor. I'll tell you, she's amazing. And I think she's the toughest competitor out there. I don't think Elaine gives her any room, but I do think that Shelley Ann it was an amazing race. I mean, she put it all together. And
it helps that Shelley tends to do her running early and Elaine comes towards the end. It makes it more interesting.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true, because I was watching the broadcast with Mr. Hutchings, and which was pretty good. I don't know if you heard, but there was a worldwide phenomenon with the Paris coverage. The last 10 minutes of the meet, which was supposed to show the men's hurdles, went black around the world. First, we were told it was just the U.S., and then we found out it came out of London, too. So I'm going to do some work on that, and I'll explain that one to you next week. A full crowd in Lausanne, too. Is that correct?
Yes. It was the first sellout for something like 10 years.
Wow.
And great atmosphere. I mean, the final event was a relay. which Switzerland led until the last 10 meters. So the crowd was going absolutely wild, but then the good guys, i.e. the British team, just took them at the end.
Why didn't Dina run the relay? Did you get any reading on that?
Well, she wasn't in Lausanne. She just chose not to come.
Okay.
She decided to do Paris instead.
Okay. Was the crowd wearing masks, not wearing masks? What's the deal?
When I arrived, I asked the person in charge of the press room that question, and he said, there's no protocol, it's just up to individuals. And the majority were not wearing masks.
Okay. Now, if that event had been held in the UK, would people have been in masks?
It's no longer compulsory.
Okay.
So it's individual choice.
Yeah, because we're starting to have
but I mean, interesting, like the mayor of London, who I think is quite a sensible man, has said, I want people to wear masks if you're out in London. You know, you don't have to, but let's be sensible, let's protect each other.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting, you know, in the U.S., EU just today announced that it's not a non-binding directive that only Americans who can show a vaccination card should be allowed in the 27 EU countries.
Well, now, to get into the stadium in Lausanne, you either had to have a vaccination certificate or a negative test in the previous 48 hours. And I mean, I had both, but interestingly, my vaccination certificate wasn't scanning, and they said they'd had this problem with several from the UK before. So just as well that I had my test, which I needed actually to go home.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was certainly a strict rule in Switzerland that you either had to have a vaccination or a negative test in the last 48 hours to get into the stadium.
Yeah, I'm wondering how it's going to go. I mean, I'm curious. I've seen some notes on the Boston Marathon, and they're telling people to bring masks. And I just, you know, I really wonder what's going to happen. You know, and over here right now, our numbers are starting to go up again, and I'm expecting to have to get even though I had the Johnson shot, I think we'll see boosters in December and January. You know,
I think we'll see boosters before that. I think we'll have it in the fall.
Are you hearing anything about indoor season yet?
I haven't heard anything, but I'm assuming that there will be the usual UK trials, possibly a UK indoor meeting, although that's about 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the World Indoors. So I would have thought that will be happening as normal.
What is the there was a note that Scott Simpson put up on Twitter the other day that he was sad that only about 100 people watched his audio class or video class, and I sent him a note and told him we're over 100,000 the people reading your story and downloading. So I think that, you know, and that just I brought that up because what I have been finding is that people want to be able to put video into context. So any video that we put up, we're trying to do a little bit, you know, I'm trying to tell a little bit about it. And like we just did some things with the American miler, Will Lear, and he's a lot of fun. And so I wrote an intro for him. So Scott works for English Athletics, correct?
No, he's actually employed by British Athletics.
Okay.
I don't quite know why he was doing that webinar under the aegis of English Athletics.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of
He's
curious.
basically employed to develop coaching in pole vault, and that includes coaching some of the top athletes like Holly and Harry Koppel, who came 7th in Tokyo.
We're now about 3 weeks away or past the Summer Olympics. We've got the Paralympics going now.
Yeah.
How is the British media portraying British performances in Tokyo?
It's hard for me to answer that because, of course, I was in Tokyo and I wasn't really reading the British media. And you don't get much track and field in the newspapers, except during the Olympics, really. I mean, we got 6 medals, which was the same as in Tokyo. Potentially, we're going to lose one of those.
Mm-hmm.
As the relay lose the medal. But I think the view would be it was okay, but no more than okay.
Yeah.
That there was the potential for more medals. But then again, how can you criticize Gemma Ricci, who missed a medal by 7/100ths of a second? If she had got that, then that'd been an extra medal. But I mean, she wouldn't. What on earth is 7/100ths of a second?
That's true. Let's see. Any more comments about Lausanne? Any other observations about that you were kind of?
No, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I mean, there was a fabulous women's high jump, which had Lausanne winning with 198. She goes to Paris and jumps 198 and loses.
That's just
back both times with losing to Nicola McDermott. Yulima Rojas setting a new Diamond League record for the triple jump. And shock horror, the pole vault was won by Christopher Nielsen, beating Kendricks, Duplantis, Lisek, and Lavillenay.
What did you think that was about?
I just assumed that Duplantis had an off night.
Yeah.
I mean, he won in Paris, didn't he?
Yeah. No. It's It's. I think that what he told. I'm trying to think who it was. He told one of the reporters that it was just a. It happens sometimes, and I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt with that one because he was back in form in Paris, and
I mean the phrase that Jimmy Connors has given us is a bad day at the office.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. That's a good way of kind of putting things. Did you get to see the Paris meet?
I didn't watch all of it. No, I was out in the park with the grandchildren.
That's awesome. No, I thought there was some good stuff. I mean, I highlighted on the men's side the men's 200 with Fred Curley and Kenny Bednarik. Yeah. That was a wonderful race, and the steeplechase was sad. Sufyan El-Bakali, my gosh, he hit that barrier, and that was just really, really scary. And then the men's pole vault was very, very relaxed. There's some funny memes right now, and Lavillenay put a Twitter post up where he's talking to Mondo, and he claims that Mondo's saying, "Can you fix my hair, Renault?" So Renault runs his hand through his hair, and then he goes and he jumps and he clears, and it just cracked me up. And everybody else thinking it was funny. And then Renault announced that he's had a couple rough meets since Tokyo, so he's going to kind of call it a day. I thought Lane Thompson just continues the show. When a 1072 is kind of blah blah, then you crack up about it. And then the one who hasn't been getting the street cred is Marlady Paulino. Olympic champion. I mean, she and Allison Felix did something really unusual. She went out frighteningly hard, and it just it just wasn't her day, you just kind of wonder, and then Femke Bowl, wow, that was really kind of something to see Femke in fourth. We've gotten spoiled.
Could I go back to Fred Curley?
Yeah.
What do you make of him? I mean, he was a very good 400 runner. Then suddenly he's winning medals in the 100. And of course, if he can do the 100 and the 400, you should be able to do the 200. But I mean, where do you think he's going?
I've talked to Fred a couple times. He is, first time was, I think, in 18 at the World Indoor. He keeps his own counsel. He seems like a really good guy. I think that his move to the 100 and 200 was brilliant. I have to say, I've got some notes somewhere, and I posted that I thought maybe he wasn't fit to run the 400, and I don't think that was it. I mean, because the last time I saw him run the 400, he ran 45:03 indoors, and his shoe was untied. And I remember, hollering at the TV, Fred, you could have set the world record today. And then the next thing we know, he's in the 100 and 200, and he's been running well. He reminds me of Usain Bolt. He's a tall guy. He's very powerful. I think he's better at the 200 than the 100, but he's quite good at the 100. And it's going to be fun to watch him, have to make some decisions, So it's and Kenny Bednarek is, I'll tell you, a lot of people think Kenny is the next, coming. And I did a piece this last week with Oren Konim, and Oren writes more about Olympic issues, but he did a piece. He contends that sometimes our decisions on the sports decisions on who to promote in various events, he questions. And I want to make sure that people know we weren't taking a hit on Noah Lyles. I love Noah. I mean, I love all the kids. What a great group in that 200. I mean, you got Noah Lyles, you got Kenny Bednarek, Andre DeGrasse, the whole crew. Noah's run quite well, and that's why, TV's, spent time with him. He did have a tough year this year, but my gosh, what he did at pre, and what his brother did at pre too, fabulous, I think that there's a lot of ways. The biggest thing that I got out of the piece that we post on sports marketing is something you and I say all the time. Virtually every athlete that we've interviewed, every athlete that we observe in track and field has a story, and a story is worthy of them. And what I'm trying to do is, you and I try to go past the real stars. Of course, we cover the stars, but we also try to, one of my favorite pieces from you of all times was that 10.79 sprinter from Togo. I can't remember if that was 2012, and it was just I had no idea about anything about that young man. And what it told me is just, it's like when we would tell people that, hey, the country of Austria got 2 medals, and they were so excited when they had, 4 people place 6th place. And what the Netherlands is doing right now with Femke Bol and that whole crew and Daphne is really unusual, you know?
Yeah.
And you'll see another generation of kids from the Netherlands go, wow, Daphne can do it. Femke can do it. Look at that. Really, I mean, think about what's going to happen in Switzerland. I mean, the Kambunji sisters, so many kids. Yeah. And you know, the women sprinters are just fabulous. So it's just, and I really wonder how Marcel Jacobs in Italy, what that will do. They just did so well. Tom Bieri, who's always fun to watch, anytime, any place, you know, is a blast. And I'm still getting, I got an email yesterday from a buddy from college. He's fascinated with how they decided to tie in the high jump. Everybody who's not a track athlete, Stu, is hearing that, you know, and it's just, I think that's fabulous, you know. The high jump in Paris, the women's, I really think Nicola McDermott, well, she smiles and she's very effusive, you know, and then we've got our friend Maria Lazinskene, who the only time that woman smiles is when she goes over 204, you know, and then Mahuchik, you know, she's enjoys it too. So it's very dynamic and but very different people competing there, and I think that's kind of good.
I went to their press conference, and it was hilarious.
Really?
In Lausanne, because if anyone tried to ask a question to all three of them, the first one said something, and the other two said, "I agree with her."
Well, I remember. Go ahead.
I just got to say that you may remember that the camera caught Nicola McDermott writing in her notebook in the Olympics. And she was asked, "What do you write?" And she said, "Well, I rate all of my jumps out of 10 in different categories. So I assess my run-up, I assess my takeoff, I assess the jump out of 10.
Wow.
And so that's what I'm sitting thinking about and doing.
Wow. Well, I just recall, I think it was 17. We were in Lausanne, and there was a whole bunch of Russian reporters giving Maria trouble about ANA stuff. And she just said, "I'm only going to talk about the high jump." So I started asking her questions about the high jump. A couple of them she answered. One of them she thought was too, was beneath her or something, you know, and she could just shut it down so well, you know. And, but no, it's a good.
Going back to Nicola a moment, I mean, I was talking to her and I just said to her, you know, in 2018 you were jumping 190. How did you get to 2 meters? Thinking she'd give me quite a bland answer. And her answer was, well, I sat down with my coach and we decided I had the talent, but not the technique to get 2 meters. And so we embarked on a 2-year project for the Olympics, recognizing that I might sacrifice the World Championship, which to some extent she did. She got there, but she didn't do terribly well. And she changed her run-up entirely and changed the way she went over the bar. And then she said to me, you know, I thought my lifestyle was good. I lived by the beach and I used to go to the beach after training. But then I thought, Nicola, it makes you tired. Go home and read a book. And so she's made massive changes to her technique and her lifestyle, and she got a reward.
Good. No, I thought she is one of the real stories of the Olympics, you know, and I just thought that was fantastic. Francine and Samba, you know, Francine had a great 3,000. She ran the third, or she ran one of the. probably the third non-Chinese best time. And I think most of us agree that by this time, I mean, I remember when that happened in 95, when the Chinese just rewrote the 3000 and 1500 records. Most of us thought it was more than turtle soup. But I think now I want to see Francine be able to race. But they've moved her from the 800 now to the what was supposed to be the 5 and the 10, but then they've let her run a 2 mile and a 3000. And I'm hearing that could change. Is that correct?
But don't forget what she did in Tokyo when she came fourth in the 10,000.
Yeah.
And she ran an excellent race in the 5,000 prelim and got DQ'd for putting her foot in the infield. I mean, good grief, you're running for, you're running for 13 minutes. It really is not going to make a massive difference if you put your foot in the midst of a crowded group of people.
Yeah.
Not as if you ran across the middle. And of course, as I said in my report on that, I do think it's much easier to DQ an athlete from Burundi than one from Germany, America, or Britain, when you have lawyers to take up the cause for you.
No, I think so too. I mean, it just, to me, I think there's a great reckoning coming. I don't think it's there yet. I think the lawyer for Caster Semenya is about to get unglued, and
indeed.
I don't know what the answer is. I want to protect women's competition and the sport to be recognized, and I don't think that if testosterone, if someone with natural occurring testosterone is allowed to compete, how are there rules that need to be set up? And I think those are questions for people above our pay grade, but I do think it's confusing I mean, it's not as confusing as the altitude junk, which drives me nuts for sprinters, and I can't deal with that. But
again, if levels of testosterone makes that much difference, why is there no limit for men?
True. That's a good question. We've got an upcoming meet, the Ivo van Damme Memorial in Brussels. The meet, for many of you young ones, celebrates Ivo van Damme, who in 1976 took silver medals in both the 800 and 1500, and the 800 behind Alberto Juan-Torena, the only man to win the 400 and the 800, and then between New Zealand superstar John Walker, first man under 350 in the mile, and then he was killed in a tragic auto accident in December of 76, and they've been doing this meet, and it's one of my favorites. And most years you and I try to go, but the quarantine's a little whack job this year. Is that correct?
It is. I can't get in, sadly. But basically, we're just over a week from the Diamond League final. That's 32 events, 16 men, 16 women, going for, I think it's $50,000 first prize.
Mm-hmm.
And we know more than half the people who are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But in Brussels, we've got a men's 100, 400, 1500, 400 hurdles, long jump, pole vault, javelin, women's 200, 800, 15, 3000, 100, and discus and high jump. So those are the people who are fighting to get the final places to compete for the big money. But of course, we already know people like Sidney McLaughlin and I think Moo have decided to end their season. And I understand that they are not going to Zurich, and I understand that Sherian is 50-50 whether she will go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, you understand that because it's a big year next year and people may feel that they put everything into a performance at the Olympics, and if you got it, it's hard to lift yourself again.
Talk to me about the Paralympics and how they're going. And I'm 2 days behind on articles for you. I will get those up today, but we're trying to do a piece every day.
Yeah.
You love the Paralympics. You've been to the
I do. I
Champs, and you've helped educate me on it too.
I've been to the last 2, and I've been to the last 5 World Championships. Well, I mean, today we had the 100 meters for amputees.
Mm-hmm.
And Felix Strang won that in 10:76. Now,
wow,
most people on the planet with 2 functioning legs cannot run 100 meters in anything like 10:76.
Yes.
But Strang does it with a prosthetic. But incredibly, the bronze medal was shared by Johannes Flores of Germany and Johnny Peacock, who both ran 10:79, and even going to the thousandths of a second, they couldn't separate the two, so they each got a bronze medal.
Wow.
And just again to highlight the women's amputee long jump, 2 women jumping over 6 meters with a prosthetic. The winner was Fleur Jong from Netherlands and Marie-Amélie Fleur from France. But, again, 6:16 was the winning jump. And you go to a Diamond League and you see able-bodied women jumping 6:20 sometimes. So, phenomenal performances.
Yeah, no, I think it's
finally, Roderick Townsend jumped 2:15, a world record. And, I mean, he has got significant nerve damage and a weak right arm and shoulder and so on. But again, 2:16 is quite a respectable jump in the high jump, and there he's doing it. And Roderick is one of these interesting people who also does the long jump as well as the high jump.
Wow. Well, Valerie Adams, our Olympic shot put champion, coaches her sister, who's in the Paralympics. Is that Laurie or Lisa? I'm trying to remember. You remember?
I think it's Lisa.
And Lisa just won her division of the Paralympic women's shot put. And the picture is so heartwarming. And, we really, good. We're big fans of Valerie, not only because of her athleticism, but because of her stands about women's sports, about how, but also about drugs in sports. And she has had to deal with during her era, people cheating to beat her. And while she gets the medals later, it's not the same thing as her getting the medal during that actual championship. And she also does have one of the funniest interviews in history with Greg Rutherford.
I was going to say that we do enjoy her press conferences as well.
Yes, they are a lot of fun.
I talked to Lisa Adams at the World Championship 2019, and she said, growing up in the family she did, she got into parasport quite late because she was just treated as normal and was just competing, competing with Valerie.
Wow. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
No, I like the Stade Charlotte Stadium in Paris is a blast. It holds about 17,000, and then the number that I got was about 15,000 in there on Saturday.
Yeah.
And the crowd was into it, you know, which is really cool. You know, what I heard this year was the crowd at Pre was pretty darn good, but it wasn't just they just weren't as overwhelmingly loud as they've been in the past. And I just think people are a little cautious right now, you know.
Yeah.
And but we've had, you know, 3 Diamond League meets in a week. That's a lot of track and field, and we've got you know 2 more this next week, and then some small meets plus the Paralympics. Now, how long does the Paralympics go? Another week?
Another few days. I'm not sure exactly how long. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to Zurich because we're back to having the whole Diamond League, all 32 events in one city. It's a 2-day event, but only one in the stadium. They've sort of built a track in a city square.
That's awesome.
And they're doing about 6 or 8 events there the first night.
Yeah, I've got a press release I've got to translate, and some of it said it is the most expensive out of stadium track for a very, you know, it's almost a pop-up track. That's got to be a $500,000 expenditure because, you know, that's craziness. And we've seen the women's pole vault in Zurich. We've seen a women shot, and we enjoy those. I mean, the folks at the Weltklasse really do know how to put on a meet. And I love the Swiss crowd. They get into it, you know?
Yeah.
It was really a lot of fun. I'm going to throw a couple we're getting close to the marathon season. Vienna's the 13th of September, and then we've got Berlin and London and Chicago and Boston.
Yeah.
What do you think about this phenomenon right now? All the marathons in the fall. I mean, London's even for 2022 already moved their event to the fall.
Yeah. I don't quite know what the thinking is with that in London because it's always one a spring event. It'll be interesting to see what it's like. I am probably feeling I will not go to London because I just don't think there's a safe way to get across London with so many people there for the marathon.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be watching it on television.
Are they even doing a? I just saw I just got the note on media credentials, and they're only doing. It sounds like everything's remote, except for the day coverage. Is that true?
Right. I don't know. I haven't.
All right, I'll do some checking on that. But I just you know, we've got a big year coming up next year, and I sure hope. I think we're going to have mask and booster shots around for a while. I just think we've got to stay careful. And, you know, it's just, I don't know how it is across the pond, but it seems that we've got about 60% of Americans who've been vaccinated.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the number who believe that vaccines are working. We've got people who believe that, you know, Bill Gates put a chip in stuff. And, you know, I don't know even how to understand it. I've got to, in a free society, respect people's beliefs, but we're getting people sick, and this seems to be extended longer than it should have. And I don't know. I'm just right now. All you can do is take care of the people that you love. Be respectful when you're indoors. Wear a mask. You know, when you're outdoors. If you're in a big crowd and you don't know everybody, keep your mask close. You know. Just be careful. And Stuart, thank you for covering. So you're going to go to Zurich. When do you head over there?
Monday.
Okay. Well, enjoy Zurich. I love that city. It's so lovely, and the Weltklasse Stadium is wonderful. Let me ask you,
love
when
it.
you went to Lausanne,
Yes.
like, were the refreshment stands open, and was it the normal stadium situation?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And how was the press conferences? Did you have to wear a mask when you went to the pressers?
Most people were. I didn't go to not many of them because I thought that it was actually very crowded
Yeah.
and you were right on top of people. I didn't think it was a very safe environment, so I didn't go to many.
How are the athletes dealing with things like with the press? Do they wear masks during most of the stuff, or what are they doing?
After the races, there were no masks, whereas in where was that before? In Tokyo, when athletes came off the track, they were handed a mask
Okay.
and asked to wear it as they went through the big zone. And it was compulsory for journalists to be wearing a mask.
Final
But
question final question of Athletics Chat 66. Do you think the LOC in Tokyo did a good job controlling the COVID situation?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think that I felt safe pretty much most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a massive outbreak. You know, we feared that there would be 100+ athletes who would catch COVID and not be allowed to compete. I don't think that happened. So I think we did.
Cool. Stuart, thank you so much.
Okay.
And so ends Athletics Chat 66. Thanks to Mike Deering, our production manager, who keeps us both in tow and tells me to put something up on my window so I don't mess everything up. And Stuart, we hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right, travel safe. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Well, hello, sports fans. It's Larry Eater, Athletics Chat 66. This is the Larry monologue, or the epilogue, as you may call it. You know the drill. I'm in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. This is my last week here. Back out in California. But Stuart's in the intellectual capital of the world. That's Oxford, England. He was in Lausanne last week. Now he's back home. He goes to Zurich next week. In 1 week, we've had Nike, Lausanne, pre-Lausanne, and Paris. All three fantastic meets. A lot of athletes competed in 2 of the meets. I think a few competed in 3, but some really big things. Themes, Francini and Samba in the 2 mile and the 3,000. Big deal. The 100s and the 200s are fantastic. Andre de Grasse, Fred Curley, Kenny Bednarek, Noah Lyles. Also the story of who's not there. Athletes like Kathy Moo and Cindy McLaughlin have called off their season. They won't more than likely be in Zurich. Brian Krauser continues to impress. And men's pole vault and women's pole vault, pretty awesome on both sides. And I think we'll continue to see that. But I think athletes are getting tired. We're down really to the last week of the season. A lot of money goes over 2 days in Zurich. There will be a bespoke athletics track in the center of Zurich. And then there will be the Weltklasse evening as well. So 2 days of fine track and field. Our friends at Peacock, CBC, NBC are covering as best they can. There were a couple problems with Peacock and NBC over the weekend, where the last 10 minutes of the broadcast for Paris just went dark, and we found out later that London had the same issue. We sure hope they fix it and either correct it or send us the final race, which would really be cool to watch, and people like that. So we will just have to see. Don't know what people need to do to get that one. But Lausanne was a tremendous meet. Prefontaine, great first meet after the Olympics. Paris was, as usual, in Stade Charlotte, pretty exciting. We've got Brussels coming up, the Von Damme Memorial, and we're also in the midst of the the Paralympics. We've got a couple stories we'll be posting later tonight, and Stuart's trying to get a piece done each day on that. We've just got done with the World Under 20s. Justin Legat finished that as well. So we've got some fun stuff. And then I'm working on pieces on deep thoughts on Nike Pre, 5 moments from Lausanne, 5 moments from Paris. I'll do 5 on Zurich. I also want to do a piece on evaluating the U.S. team effort at the Olympics, which I thought was very good. And then I'm going to talk about the success of the women's team and the challenges for the men's team right now. Rachel Berman from Wall Street Journal did a really fine piece on the challenges on the men's side, and I think that is really good. I was chastised by some dear readers who asked me why I wasn't talking about how great the women's team was doing, and that's my fault. I just, quite frankly, missed it. I mean, I love the story and I knew it, but I took it for granted, and I didn't think that it. I need to make more decisions that understand that our audience is 50-50, and also it's just the truth. The women's U.S. track team was fabulous in Tokyo, and just great performances, and also building for 2024 and 2028, which is something that we'll talk about as well. But I think that we had a fun athletics chat 66. We chatted a little bit at the end about marathon season, which is all this fall. I think that there'll be some changes there for next spring, but we'll have to see what's going to happen. In the meantime, in the U.S., the epidemic continues. So please, when you're indoors, wear a mask. When you're outdoors and you're in a crowd with a lot of people you don't know, pull your mask out, wash your hands, eat well, hydrate, rest, okay? Take care of your families. People are still dying, and the numbers are going up a little bit, and it concerns me. And I don't want to lose any of you. So stay healthy so you can enjoy the World Championships in Eugene next year, Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, and the European Championships, which I believe are in Munich. So it's going to be fun next summer. Stay healthy so you can stay around. Be safe.